Main closet there.
Is there one in the new city hall?
Yeah, I just put one in today.
Okay.
I put your new flag.
Well, because yesterday, the city of LaFayette flag.
And an American flag, and they ordered a new American flag. Because that flag that was there was from my house. So there's an American flag, Alabama flag, and a city flag. I just put it in.
You got a little small flag. Yeah.
Here last night.
It's on the other side.
Don't let go to the other side.
Just want to say good evening to each and every one in attendance tonight for the City of LaFayette City Council meeting, January 28th, 2026, 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Here at Chicago Celebration. At this time, we bow our heads, wait for the show for prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we come thank you once again for the many blessings that God has restored upon us. Oh God, we pray right now that you lead us and guide us in the right direction. Oh God, we pray right now that you be in the midst of our city council meeting as we conduct the welfare business of the city of LaFayette, Alabama. Father God, I ask you bless each and every one that's under the sound of my weak voice, bless their families. Father God, we pray for traveling grace. Father God, we won't fail to give you all the thanks and the praise. We will pray in Christ's name. Amen and praise God. Amen. It's time we flag is not, displayed here tonight, I think it's in another building. So, where there's a will, there's a way. So, salute, pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we ask our assistant clerk for a roll call, please.
Councilwoman Milford. Here. Councilman Langley. Councilman Thomas.
Here.
Councilwoman Story. Here. Councilwoman Williams. Present. Mayor Vines.
Here. Reading of the minutes, January 12th, 2026 for my regular council meeting, and January 16th, 2026 for my special call council.
I make a motion to approve the reading of the minutes from January 12, 26 regular council meeting, and the minutes also from January 16, 26 special call council.
It's been properly motion to second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Okay, we have with us tonight Ms. Carrie Wood, CPA-CC Executive Director. She's going to update her business of CPA-CC. Ms. Wood.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I appreciate you allowing me to come tonight. I'm just going to give you an update of the chamber for the past few months, where we've been, where we're going. As you all know, I know some of you are new, so I report quarterly. I'm Carrie Wood. I'm the Director of the Greater Valley Area Chamber of Commerce, and I try to report to you quarterly, okay? So this is a quarterly report. We operate from October 1 to the end of September. So we have our annual dinner every year in September. So that's when we give the large report of the entire year. And so this will be the end of our first quarter report, okay? So we have 13 board members, 17 ambassadors, and 47 junior ambassadors. Just to go over that, of course, you know what board of directors are. Our ambassadors are adults that work within our community. They meet once a month, and then they're tasked with different activities and showing up to things that we do every month. So they attend ribbon cuttings, grand openings, our business after hours, things like that. The junior ambassadors are our 9th through 12th graders. So we have 47 of those. It's kind of like herding cats. Hey, we're proud to have every one of them, right? Lunch and learns, I did leave you all a packet, so if you want to follow along or refer back to it later, you can do that. On November the 17th, we hosted a board retreat. I've been with the chamber 11 years, and I can only remember one board retreat in that time. So it was very, it was time to do that, and we had a really good time. We contracted a speaker. He travels around the world speaking to board members of Chamber of Commerce, as well as training for boards and members. So we utilized him on the 17th and on the 19th while he was here. He also did a training for our members as well. So that went over really well, and we were happy to have the opportunity to bring him in. Hopefully we can do that every other year, because he is not cheap. In November, of course, as you know, we hosted the 6th annual Rocket Fest on the Square. We had a total of 72 vendors, and I would say between 1,500 to 2,000 people here in downtown LaFayette on the Square for that day. Of course, we tried to rotate out the inflatables. I don't like to call them inflatables because they're not your everyday inflatables. But this year we had the new Santa jumper. If you were there, then you probably see him. He was very tall. You could probably see him pushing forward to December, we had our second annual Shop Till Thursday. If you don't know what that is, it's kind of the Chamber's spin on Black Friday. This year we had 23 local businesses participate. We had 17 last year, so we upped that number by a few, so that was always good. And then each business that participates is given kind of a bucket and tickets, so that we can kind of get a count of who shopped local that day. And we received 423 tickets back. So in that one day, 423 people shopped at a total of 23 stores. I'd say that's success. As you know or may not know, this year was the first year that the Chamber took on the Greater Valley Area Christmas Parade. It is 4.4 miles of goodness. So yeah, we took that on. We had 147 units from past records. I can only tell the top number was 106. So we're gonna say that we grew the parade this year by 50 units. We did have 4 bands, and all 4 mayors were involved in this year's parade. We provided them with their own units, so each mayor rode in their own car. They were not riding together as they have done in the past. I think that looks better. If you don't know me, I'm a little OCD, just a little, and it's all about vision, right? We also provided each mayor with coffee and a little goodie bag that included a little jingle thing that they could jingle out the window as they were going down the 4.4 miles. And so that was great, and we appreciate you, Mayor, for coming down and attending it with us. Because it was our first year, there was major logistic things that needed to be changed. And I did change a lot of things on the logistics side. One of the problems was the congestion and the issues at Walmart. We got that fixed. We did provide porta potties in all 3 locations. That was at the main lineup, at band lineup, and where band landed. If you know, the band is walking or marching 4.4 miles, so it's time to potty after that. It's about 3.5 hours or so. We also implemented a theme this year. It went over really well. It was amazing to see all the entries take that on and kind of make it their own. And then we surprised everyone at the end with a snow machine. It shot snow 75 feet up and over the crowd the entire 4 miles. So that was pretty magical.
I do have one question.
Yes.
About the parade. This year, we all look at partnering with Main Street for that parade.
What you want us to do?
I mean, just try to get some vendors over here to help, to showcase.
Yeah, so we do things in a streamlined order, and so if they're open to joining that streamline, we charge. We can talk about that if you'd like. I think that, my opinion, I've been with the Chamber 11 years, we do all kind of events, but when you charge, it puts some foot in the game. It makes them take pride into it, and if a squirrel runs by that day, they don't say, oh, I'm not going today, because they have skin in the game. But yeah, I'd be more than willing to help any way we can. I don't know their date, but if it's afterwards, then maybe our floats be more willing to save their float and put it in. I can also help on, I took the application that was in place, and I believe it's the one y'all still use because I had shared it years ago, but it wasn't mine to revamp. We revamped all of that, so it looks a lot better now. Easier to read, easier to understand. More than willing to help any way I can. In February, we will host our 11th annual Real Life 101. We will have around, it says 700, but after I got my totals, we're gonna be around 450 students able to drop those in the bucket that you feel that should win. And then we have ordered something epic, so epic, for that winner. So it's sitting on my desk now, and it's so hard not to share it, but I can't. I did send everyone a little teaser of it, so they're all excited and they're ready to talk their smack against each other, and it's gonna be a great community event. If you go back to the second page, there is a list of community, calendar of events coming up. I'm not gonna go through all those. I know I've taken up enough of your time, but I do wanna suggest February the 4th, which is coming up. There's only a few days left to register, but we are going to have a lunch and learn on AI training, which is very important in today's world. You are welcome to register for that, but do it ASAP because I'm gonna order lunch tomorrow. Any questions?
I have a comment, here.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to tell you that the Rockin' Horse Festival was really nice, and thank you for your hard work. But what I also noticed is that I haven't been seeing you when you haven't been doing any ribbon cutting. I'm gonna get into that with you tonight, but I will be calling you to find out, what's going on, why we haven't seen your face at the ribbon cuttings.
Yes, ma'am. I can give you my cell phone number afterwards.
Okay, you did.
Any
Thank you.
questions, comments?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, it's time we have Mr. Chris Lumber, Principal of Jackson Corn, overview of FY '24 annual financial report.
Okay, Mayor Vines, Councilwomen, men, thanks for the quick minute to talk about the September 30th, 2024 financial statements of the city. I am the principal responsible for signing the audit opinion and certifying, I guess you could say, the financial statements. So I'll just take a few minutes of your time just to go over a couple of highlights. I know Lewis is not here, but I'll say just a few words about him in just a minute. So we are talking about the September 30th, 2024 financial statements. We issued our opinion, our certification on November 17th of 2025. So that has been recently, a few months back now. What you need to know is the government activities of the city. We issued a clean opinion on those government activities. So as you can imagine, what happens in government activities, fire, police, those kind of things, maintenance, what you see at City Hall, those type of things. So we did issue a clean opinion on there. The opinion on the business type activities. So if you didn't know, the city runs electric, water, and sewer. We issued a clean opinion except for just a couple features on how the disposals and capitalization policies are enacted, but except for that, it looks right to me. The statements also don't include component units, and that's kind of a nerdy term that my colleagues use, but it's related to organizations. And that, at this point, is only the building authority, the public building authority. So they're not in here. I don't think you would find much meaning, but the accounting gurus like that. Okay, so that's what I do for y'all. I certify the statement, and that's my report. If you look inside this lovely document that you can measure from the side, so that's my what we do. But I can speak just to a few features of the city for anybody that wants a takeaway, or just an idea of what the size and scope and what the city does. At the end of September, there was $7 million in cash, CDs, and investments. It was $14 million in capital assets. When I talk about capital assets, it's the stuff that makes city work. Cars, fire, police cars, those type of things in normal city operations. It also is the infrastructure to deliver electric, sewer, water. So that's the elements of the major assets of the city. Once you peel off the debt of the city, which I've said this many years to this council, it's very little. It's very small. Your biggest obligation, which you want, is a pension. so the net pension obligation, which is a actuarially determined number, is only $1.5 million. But what you need to know of that, it's 80% funded. And what I will tell you with my experience with all my other clients, that is a sweet spot. You are set up perfectly to look at your employees and say, when you retire under the Employees Retirement Systems of Alabama, which Bronner and his team back in Montgomery oversee that, you'll have a pension. I mean, I believe that because an actuarial adjustment could make it 100% funded or 70% funded. 80% is a really nice number. So to kind of capture what all that means, you have reserves, okay? And that's not, a lot of towns don't have that, you can't say that. Now, don't go out and think you can spend it tomorrow, okay? Because you have some, out of that $3 million, about $2 million is restricted for particular purposes, and that's okay. There's a little under $1 million that's unrestricted, and that is a healthy reserve, in my opinion. So, want to give y'all just that flavor. When you think of the 12 months, because that's what a reporting period, encapsulates, the city was about the same as it was last year, operating very even, not a big, you might call net income or a net income loss, pretty flat. So, fulfilling the obligations of the city and taking care of its business. One of the things I like to just share, because there's a lot of pages in here, but if you look at, you rank the total expenses of the city, I can always tell what cities care about because there's categories, right? And out of the $4.6 million of general government expenses, about 2.8 was in public safety. So I mean, the lion's share is public safety, what matters to people in LaFayette. So that is a fair analysis. I also like to point out sales tax is king in the state of Alabama. It's just how Alabama works, and it was almost $2 million for the year. Again, I'm throwing out very round numbers for you to kind of stick with, think about as I wrap up here. But one of the things that I also like to mention is your budget. So you create a budget and you work towards that budget. There was a small overspend of about 9% of the total budget. And the reasons, usually it's in capital, adding something that broke that has to be retained. If I'm not mistaken, that was the situation. So 8 to 9%, pretty much within budget guidelines. As far as like how the financial statements, if you look this year to next year, in the previous year, there was a small standards update. Won't bore you with that. We did have a few audit adjustments, which we found we could accrue more revenue for the utility revenues. We had some small suggestions that it continue from year to year. This is why I'll speak about Lewis, and he's worried that he's not here tonight. He said, "Don't talk bad about me while I'm not here." I didn't make any promises, but I'm not going to do that. Lewis does a lot with a little. There's a lot of Lewis in what y'all see every day when you go into City Hall and what he does. So his team is small, but they punch above their weight. And so there's some things that could be trued up, but at the end of the day, I think you have a good product here and something that you can be proud of. And you're not, this city is not in trouble, and they have a pathway to be greater than today if that is your vision. So I mean, I won't continue to belabor the point, but a month from now, Lewis can tell you how to find it.
So, just summing it up for you, the city is in good standing.
Good. Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure working with us.
We have with us tonight Harmony Engineering on 431 water line replacement project.
opportunities for the 431 North project. The first discussions we've had were with Aldott on the paving project that's coming through for 431 North. We got into it, that project is actually being bid this month. Discussions with Aldott, they are willing to move that project and hold off on it until the 2027 cycle. So that's great news. That would have been something that would have been very hard to work around if they weren't willing to do that. With that, they're looking for a very strong commitment from the city to get this project done. That being said, we've looked into grant options. We spoke with the director of ADECA into some options that were available to help fund this project. He mentioned CBDG and ARC grants. With Aldott, if Aldott is unwilling to move this project, those grants are not an option to be completed before the paving project starts. So what we need to discuss at some point in the next couple weeks is, are those grants something the city wants us to pursue? And our proposal was to bring those options to you, and we want to sit down with you and discuss what options those grants provide us, the CBDG and ARC.
Let me just kind of, we had a work session yesterday with Dr. Smith, and our work session was about proceed of finding grants. Before you leave tonight, I think you have, Councilwoman Williams, do you have Dr. Smith number? Give it to me.
I do.
I would like for you all to contact Dr. Smith. His lecture yesterday was very knowledgeable.
Yes, sir.
About these grants, and I think it would be beneficial for you all to have a conversation with him. And, he's getting ready to get busy, so this pretty much next month to his busy season. So, on behalf of the city, I would like for you all to have a conversation with him.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Working well.
We're fine doing that. The Aldott timeline, we weren't given a definite when they need to know if the city is committed to this or not. But being bid in the next couple of days, what we're suspecting, we really need to be able to probably have a workshop in the coming week or two, and at the next council meeting, be prepared to say, or y'all be prepared to vote and discuss if you're willing to make a strong commitment based on their stance. We'll try to put that together, sit down with y'all and have that discussion. We'd love to talk to him before that.
Yes, sir.
I can get that contact information, that'll be no problem.
Okay.
So you're saying, our proposal so far is that we have basically contracted with you guys to do this preliminary work, see if there's funding available, what the status of everything is, and that's what y'all have done, or still
Correct.
finishing up, wrapping up the process?
Correct, and we are prepared to pursue these grants, but we wanna discuss with y'all to make sure this is the route. it
So
wants.
now we're at a point where we've got to decide, are we gonna commit past the proposal stage? Is that correct?
And we're kind of in the middle of that first proposal. We didn't wanna know, Aldott is above and separate, kind of separate from the grant stuff. They want to know that the city's committed to completing this. If they're willing to hold off their project, they wanna know that the water line's gonna go all the way up 431 North and move it out from under the road.
some-year-old pipes that are gonna crack, it's gonna be a problem. And I just hate to be the one to pick up that nice paper.
Another thing we'll have to have is outlet permits to relay this water line, and they might not give them to us if we're digging up their new asphalt. That is something to consider. There's no definites in any of that. This is something we need to be discussing very soon.
Could you meet with us next Thursday?
Next Thursday, I believe so, I'll count.
Yes.
As long as it's after 4 or so, it should be all right.
Be available, but don't let my availability not stop you from having me. No, I'll call you and find out what I need to know.
Fourth would be better for me. Yeah, that Wednesday. I mean, I can listen in. It's no problem. Yeah, I can. I know we don't wanna meet on Friday, so I guess it would be after that, the ninth, 10th, all that's good. But the fifth, yeah, I'll probably have one that evening. Yeah, it can be anytime.
Friday work
We'll make whatever works.
Let's just do Friday.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Well, let's shoot for Friday. Y'all want to say 4 or y'all do it today or speak up, we're flexible?
We're flexible, we'll do whatever y'all need us to do. Friday at 4 o'clock, not this coming Friday, next Friday.
Next Friday.
Yeah, next one. We can do that morning if that's, do that.
I'm good on Fridays. When that, remember when it, the one we had last one was at 10, and that seemed to work good for everybody.
Let's shoot for 10.
10?
10 Friday morning.
I think we need to do
You
something
ready?
in the morning, they have
Right.
a little bit, and then they go.
And that'll give you time to reach out to Dr. Smith.
Thanks.
So Friday at 10, we're going to have a session, talk about the water, 4:30 we're going.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, announcement of the Historic Preservation Board meeting, Tuesday, January 27th, 2025. Anything we have on that? Historic?
I missed it. I didn't see the notice until it was too late.
Walked in right when that said that.
You have
We were a little free on.
how many?
It was all good. I mean, it's all good things to see, putting up a mural on the dentist office and getting the sign on the, purple thing.
Great. Okay, sanitation bid discussion.
I was organized, but I'm sure that won't last very long, but as y'all are aware, I wanna start off with a little bit of discussion about how we got here and then continue on with where we are. If you recall, back in the end of December, we had let bids out for garbage collection service. And then those bids were opened and we considered those bids on December 22nd. got bid, they were very close. One was $15 and one was $15.41. The $15 bid was the low bid, and that was with our current contractor, Waste Management. But it had an escalation clause in it based on some sort of consumer price index that has to do with garbage, not anything that I could relate. And if you use past CPI numbers, for just general CPI numbers, the two bids were kind of, there was no real way to really compare which one was lower. So they were, and we had a pretty good discussion about all that. And so we decided to reject all bids, which is something that is in the notice to bid. We put in a sentence at the bottom of the notice to bid that says, the City of LaFayette reserves the right to reject any and all bids. So that is, all the parties that bid were put on notice of that. Then we rebid, and the bid tabulation I'll go through in a minute. But we received a letter of protest from, I believe it's the proprietor of Meridian Waste. This letter has a couple of factual statements in it that aren't all together. They don't match what was discussed at the meeting that day. It did mention that 121 disposal did get up and speak, because there were several of the bidders here at the meeting, and the mayor gave them an opportunity, so they stood up and spoke. And what they said was that they thought that the bid specs were somewhat confusing. And if you look back through the bids, that appears to be so. And then there was also an addendum to the bid specs that came out after the initial bid spec was led. So that was an additional confusing factor. So I believe the original decision that was based on the not being able to determine which one of the lower two bids were the lowest, rebidding it made more sense. Under the right that we had reserved. I did do a little research, and there's actually Attorney General opinion that says that is very favorable toward that language in bids and it being exercised and used. So, with that background, the bid specs were cleaned up a little bit. Some clarifications were made. There was some actual language put in there. It said if you want to put an escalation clause in there, it needed a cap, and that we would use the top of the cap to calculate whether or not you got a little bit or not. We received, in addition, also cleaned up some definitions and things that obviously confused. So I went through and those bid specs were let, the notice of bids were sent out. We received 5 bids instead of 4 this time. Martin Environmental Services did not bid before, but they bid this time. And in this particular case, 121 disposal was the low bid, $13.87 per cart. Waste Management was next at $14.25. Then Martin Environmental Services were at $14.60. And then Meridian Waste was at the same amount it was previously at $15.44, and Waste was at $19.44, similar to what they were before. The 121 disposal bid, the additional cart is not something that was in the specs. That's a reduction. I mean, there was nothing in the specs about having more than one cart. And if they did, it was assumed it was going to be at the same price as the initial cart. So that's actually a benefit for the citizens of the city. And it was an element that they had put in the previous bid as well. Waste Management, although it's the second lowest bid, they again had their escalation clause in there, but they did not put a cap on it. And it's specific derogation of the specs that were left. So I did not see that, and Meridian Waste was actually 4, Martin Environmental was 14.60. So at this point, I recommend that the council accept the low bid of 121 disposal.
With us accepting this bid, does it mean that all of the
responsibility of the contractor, but yes. Because those carts actually belong to Waste Management. So Waste Management will collect their carts and the 121 will provide that.
Mayor Hines, at this time, I would like to entertain a motion to go ahead and accept, the bid for 121, disposal for 1387.
And that is resolution number 2026-01, 2601.
So,
Proper motion, second, accept the bid, 121 disposal, 1387. Also, hearing from our city attorney, explaining the bid process. So, do we have any discussion?
I just have one is, on the first bid, they were 1887 and they came back with 1387. Like,
The confusion was around something called bulky waste as well as the specs themselves. There were a lot of definitions that were included in waste that are cleaned up, a lot of which was based on some objections that Waste Management had to the specs. Waste Management had like 4 pages of exceptions to their bid in the first bid. So, you know, I don't know why there's such a large difference, but there was a difference in all bids. Waste Management bid was lower, there were several of them that were lower. But I will also point out that Waste Management did have another couple of pages of exceptions to the specs. And they were not nearly as significant issues as I saw the first time around, but I did not peruse them quite as closely because they were the third highest bid.
Attorney, does that include, backdoor pickup also by seniors?
I'm sorry?
Would that include, the 121 proposal include backdoor pickup by seniors, the one
Yes,
that
it
can't
does.
take garbage to the road?
Yes, and there's a percentage of the populace that's allowed to have backdoor service, but it's temporary, what's in place now.
Okay, thank you.
And they know how many backdoor customers that we have now. That was in the specs, so they'd have an idea of how much is expected.
With adjusting providers for garbage services, is it gonna be the responsibility of the company or the responsibility of the city to notify the citizens?
No, we charge a fee, the city does. excuse
So
me.
they charge the city and we
And they
turn around
charge
and
the
put it
city
on the bill.
contract, and the city pays them, and the city provides the original contract with Waste Management actually had yard waste and everything, they were supposed to pick it up, and they never have. So, we never did follow through on that part either, that's part of trying to clean the specs of this second bid, was to get all that stuff out of there. And some of that was eliminated first, did not go around, and some more of it was eliminated second. You know, like the construction debris and that kind of stuff, you see on the side of the road, the city's taking on that responsibility.
So we would need to let the citizens know that there would be
There's
adjustments,
no change.
cans.
Yeah.
The double cans for a week or so might confuse.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, it would
That
not
would
be
be
a
our-
bad idea to.
Well, we can put all the information on our website.
Right.
do we know how long the switchover period would be? Like, is it,
The contract's supposed to start effective the 1st of March. So that's when Waste Management contract ends. The switchover will happen, trash pickup day that week, we don't know what the new trash pickup day will be yet. But I'm sure once we get we'll negotiate a contract, once this is approved, we'll negotiate a contract, and the contract will have what pickup days it is. And then, of course, that'll be one of the notices. You know, that's a notice we'll put out at the beginning of the contract. The spec still had you still have to notice if your holidays when you want to pick up that right.
All right, thank you, Attorney.
Yes, I already said in discussion phase, any more discussion?
Yes.
If not any more discussion, Matt, will you consider it as a roll call or just regular?
It doesn't have to be a roll call. we won't-
Okay. All in favor by saying aye? Any opposed? Motion approved.
how does this work? Do we post this and then they bid on the price, or how does this work? Can anyone tell me the surplus?
Yeah, I can see. First thing we have to do is declare surplus. That's the first step. The second step is y'all have to decide what's the manner in which you want it sold. There aren't any statutory restrictions on how you sell it. In the past, we've done auctions, and we still have a building full of surplus material in the McClendon building. But that is something that needs to be dealt with. The first thing is to make sure that we have all department surplus, we have everything that they've submitted declared surplus. And then probably it'd be best to have some communication about what's the best way to do it. We've had an auction, and I'm not sure George can speak to that a little better, but we've had auctions in the past, and they've been, somewhat successful. We've also had problems with people picking up the stuff they bought. We still got a couple of old cars, I think, that people never had a hard time getting to come get, so, if you just want to leave that up to Mr. Green or whatever, and what doesn't sell in the auction, have the scrap companies come in and tell us what they take, what they give us to haul it off, or if they won't give us money, then what they'll have, well, we have to pay them to get it hauled off.
Superintendent Green, did you not include some items that was up at the post McClendon building?
The old item that was, already been surplus, that list is probably somewhere else, when since putting it back on the list, I don't think. But we had leftover items like, council bills, we never get rid of them.
I know several file cabinets and stuff, I would say other stuff.
They don't get under surplus.
Have we surplus any of the stuff that's in the potential new city hall building that we have? Cause there's several things in there that probably are.
There's no list been created for what's gonna be surplus, I think. Lewis or somebody might have to do that, now,
I think we can make it.
So we just need a motion to. Surplus.
Declare, or whatever it is, surplus, yes, that's the first
The
step.
only question, discussion that I see on any of these lists is about, the last sentence that's on the one from the water treatment plant. So one of their items, they're surplusing, but it's pending approval of the purchase of a new replacement vehicle. So we might not need to declare that surplus yet.
I thought that she said that they can use the one she currently drives till they get another vehicle.
Yeah, that's the way I read it.
Pending the budget approval of the purchase.
Another vehicle.
So they're just gonna use hers until we approve getting a new vehicle. Okay.
I'd like-
That answered my question.
Well, at this time, I would like to go ahead and make a motion that we surplus all these items out.
Proper motion second, coming from our original line department head on our surplus item, to surplus it out. Any discussion?
Could we add to that narrative when we get this stuff? At the end of this, we can say this, that we just dispose of this stuff and get rid of it. It's plugging up buildings and taking up space. It just, it could get it going.
Might add an agenda item to our work session next Friday to discuss the procedures we wanna go on and try to do to get this stuff taken care of, to get it cleaned up.
All in favor by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion approved.
2 speed bumps. And we are planning to put another one there, but based on the cold weather, it's kind of hard
Just
to
to
get,
wait.
hard to get some asphalt.
Okay.
What would that speed bump be?
There was a lady on Springfield Avenue, yes, Springfield Avenue that reached out about there needing to be an additional speed bump. I think there's already 2 or 3 out there at the beginning of the road, and apparently it's gotten pretty bad towards the end. So I just forwarded the request on to George to get him to look into it, and then I guess report back and see what he.
That's going up by you.
I had some complaints over that.
Thank you.
George, I had one question. So over there on, MLK, where they're putting in the new, trailer park, is there anything you can do about all that red mud that's coming down the hill and washing into the road?
I will check with them and see can they put some silk screen up, same. I'll look into that.
It's bad.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Hearing no petition, application, explain, field and communication.
The speed bump was the only issue I've had this come up since last meeting, so I'm good.
Councilman Blaine?
Yes, Mayor, I just want to thank Dr. T. Smith for coming up and talking to us last night about grants and the different types of grants. Very informative. I certainly learned a lot. I think we all learned a lot. I also appreciate everybody being there last night. Seeing the attorney was with us, I'm proud he was there, and the mayor. And we look forward to getting back with him in a couple of weeks and continuing our conversation.
Sure, very informative. Councilman Thomas?
Yes, I'd like to piggyback right off what, Councilman Langman just said. It was very, very knowledgeable. Thank Dr. T. Smith for taking time out to give back to his community where he's from. I thank you for spearheading it again. And, also, I just want to tell all our citizens to be very safe this weekend. It's gonna get pretty cold. So everyone be safe and continue to stay warm. Have a great weekend. That's all I have.
All right. Councilwoman Schroeder?
The only thing I have is, Council Mayor, you guys should have received a package from me about the notification system for the city of LaFayette. I gave you guys 3 different companies that we could potentially use. And I gave a recommendation, and I just would like for our next city council meeting, if we can kind of vote on one of these companies. Because we just had an issue over the weekend, I think last weekend, where there was a water issue, and it only affected one area, which was Drake Avenue. And most of the citizens didn't get the notification because we couldn't really notify them that the water was going off. So this would have really played a major part in notifying those citizens of the water outage. Each of these notification systems, it allows you to target certain areas, so that way you can send it to, you don't have to send it to all citizens, you can send it to just one group of citizens. And, yeah, I think it's time for us to, have a notification system. Alex City, they have one, and even the Chambers County, I think Chambers County, they have one, the Chambers County government, they have one too. So I think the city of LaFayette needs a residential notification system. So if we can if y'all can look over the package, and then next week, we can vote on a company that we would use. It looks like Regroup would be ideal because it's the cheapest, but GoGov, they have like it's integrated with a app, meaning that our citizens can have an app on their phone, and that app will be tied to our website and our Facebook page. So if they ever need to contact us, they can just click on contact us, and it'll direct them to our website, and also direct them to our Facebook page. But yeah, we're looking at about $3,900 a year just to have that GoGov or Regroup notification system. So I think it'll be a great
already doing it. And I would just like to see this ordinance change so that they can light the firecrackers or fireworks, without any problems. You can't stop them from lighting. All we can do is try to babysit whatever happens. But like I said, this was done in 1983. We need to look at not only this ordinance, but a lot of the ordinance that's old, need to be updated. But I would like for, maybe at the next council meeting, perhaps not even the next one. I am, that's why I said perhaps not the next, maybe in March or April, maybe in March or April, we can come before,
Next major
maybe
holiday.
July 4th,
Okay.
you know.
We'll get it.
So that
We're
we
giving you
can
6 months notice.
I'll
pop
commit to
firecrackers.
March.
Yeah, no hurry, but we just need to look at it. I've had several people asking me about it, and like I said, we're not stopping them, they're popping them anyway. So, that's all I have.
We'll try to get something drafted for y'all to look at, have input on before we.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. I don't have anything. This time, we ask our assistant clerk for order of accounts, please.
Total claims is $520,267.81. $520,267.81.
Make a motion to pay our bills.
Second motion.
Hearing from our assistant clerk, order of account, $267.81. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Okay, public comments.
Apparently, the raises that were discussed in the past, I guess, 2 months, nothing's been done apparently about any raises for the city employees. And, I have to agree with, Councilperson Williams about the ordinance on the fireworks. It does need to be, taken a look at, but, it needs to be probably rewritten to, be enforceable, because, someone's fingers, toes, eyes, ears, it's not something that you want people to be able to do in your city limits, because someone's gonna be hurt at some point in time. So it does need to be looked at, rewritten, where it's enforceable and enforced. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oak. Okay, resolution, order of business, resolution number 2026-01, sanitation service. So we already,
We already did that.
okay. Convey cemetery deed, 1829.
I make a motion that we convey cemetery deed 1829.
Then proper motion second, convey cemetery deed number 1829. Any discussion? Not all in favor by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion approved.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Then proper motion second, adjourn, any discussion? All in favor by saying aye. Any opposed?
Sure.
here,